Lokayuk, West Bengal. Professor Dr. N.K. Chakraborty, Vice Chancellor of the West Bengal National University of Juridical Sciences, Kolkata. Mr. S.N. Mukherjee, Senior Advocate and former Advocate General for West Bengal. Ms. Swati Kapadia, CEO, Nani Palkhivala Memorial Trust. Mr. Siddharth Sharma, General Counsel for the Tata Group. Respected faculty members, dear students, Mr. Gupta and Mr. Dixit, the winners of the essay competition, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to one and all. It is indeed a moment of pride for me to be a part of the Nani Palkhivala Memorial Conclave organized by the university in collaboration with the Nani Palkhivala Memorial Trust and supported by the Tata Group, to pay obeisance to one of the foremost thinkers of modern India, Mr. Nani Palkhivala. For those of you who are more discerning, I use the term thinker for Mr. Palkhivala rather than describing him as a legal stalwart or using any other legal term related to the profession with a purpose. I believe that the years that he set in motion had far-reaching consequences not only in the legal sphere, but also in those aspects that touch the very fiber of our existence today. Hence, confining his greatness to the legal fraternity would be doing a great injustice to his memory. I must share with you that while I was preparing my speech, I had the occasion to look into the essays written by the 4th to 8th ranked students, those who could not feature as the winner or the runners-up. I have no hesitation to say that I was pleasantly surprised to see the amount of effort put in by each one of them, how through different lenses the authors have approached such a vast topic, and how rich in content the essays are. Those students who have not emerged as winners, to them I say, you may not have been able to match the skills of the winners, but let me acknowledge that I did learn something from those essays for which I feel enriched. I congratulate you all. In addition, I say that those who did not feature as the winners, runners-up, or even not come within the first 10, you must realize that it is not possible for everyone to win every time you participate in a competition. But certainly, your honest attempt to win will make you excel in whatever you do in future, and that would indeed be a remarkable achievement. I've always maintained that students clearing CLAT, joining the national law schools and graduating therefrom are a class in themselves and constitute our national wealth. The simple request I make to you is to make informed decisions to regulate your future life that is beneficial for the nation. Now, coming back to the topic, basic structure. It has completed 50 years. While reading the essays, although I have just now acknowledged how rich it is in content, I felt that in the minds of some of the essayists, there is a little bit of lack of clarity as to what the basic structure is. Now, in this hall, we have about 100 people. Does anyone look alike the other? Except twins? Nobody. What is common to all? We are all human beings. Either we are males or females, right? What do we have in common? Our structure, our framework, constitutional framework of a human being. We have this head, We have this torso, we have these arms, and we have our feet, right? This is common to everyone. Now, these are the external features of the human body. What we have internally, we have a brain here, we have a heart here, we have our lungs here, we have our intestines here, and the muscles in the legs. Now I am trying to contrast the Constitution of India with the human body. The Supreme Court, in a number of judgments, has interchangeably used the words basic structure and basic features. Now I would try, and this is not where I am speaking what would be treated as 141. This is just a random thought on which I would like the academicians to build upon. Personally speaking, I feel that there are 4 basic aspects which forms a human body. The first would be the supremacy of the Constitution. The second would be bringing about an egalitarian social order through enforcement of the rule of law. Third would be the parliamentary form of democracy. And the fourth would be independence of the judiciary. And what we have inside, the heart, the brain, these could be the basic features of the Constitution. Republican form of government, secular state, separation of powers, primacy of the judiciary, federal structure, etc., etc. Now, when we talk of amendment under 368, what does an amendment contemplate? An amendment contemplates that a statute, or let us talk in constitutional terms, provisions of a constitution. We can add to it, we can delete a part of it, or we can alter it. Now think of this human body once again. You have tonsils here, you have appendix here. These are not necessary for your survival. You take it off. You get a surgery done, you take it off. It doesn't change your basic structure. But let us assume that somebody goes for a surgery. He wants his arm to be separated from the shoulder. Allow him to be there. He will die bleeding. Right? So therefore, there lies the importance of the basic structure. You can bring about changes. Let me tell you, what changes? We are here, so many of us are here, we have problems of vision. You add a spectacle. This is addition, amendment. People like me, I want to have my belly fat reduced. I go for a surgery. This is deletion. Alteration. Somebody goes for a plastic surgery and changes his face. Alteration, but basic structure remains the same. So what the Supreme Court through the Keshavananda Bharati judgment has laid down is you cannot change your basic structure. Today, anyone desiring to fly in the sky cannot claim that my hands should be changed into wings. Can you? No. Anyone intending to swim underwater cannot ask for the lungs to be replaced by gills. Can you? So therefore, once you are doing that, you are causing irreversible damage or emasculation of your body. The same thing with the Constitution. And this is what was frowned upon in the Keshavananda Bharati. We must understand this basic principle very clearly. I tried to put it as simply as possible because my audience consists of students. Now let me tell you, this is not an original thinking of mine. Who was my inspiration? Those students who have read the Keshavananda Bharati judgment. Have you come across a passage there in paragraph 1431 of Mr. Carl J. Friedrich? Perhaps no. If I may just read that passage, I dare say that, we need to develop on this passage. I quote, "A constitution is a living system, but just as in a living organic system, such as the human body, various organs develop and decay, yet the basic structure or pattern remains the same, with each of the organs having its proper function, so also in a constitutional system, the basic institutional pattern remains, even though the different component parts may undergo significant alterations. For it is the characteristic of a system that it perishes when one of its essential component parts is destroyed. The rest part is not. I believe it was Mr. Palkhivala who must have placed this before the court. Because in Mr. Palkhivala's words, I quote, "The Constitution is not a jellyfish. It is a highly evolved organism. It has an identity and integrity of its own, the evocative preamble being its identity card. It cannot be made to lose its identity in the process of amendment." Unquote. The aforesaid quote serves as a succinct summary of what Keshavananda Bharati, the most important piece in Indian constitutional history, is all about. There are certain constraints of time. I'll have to board a flight, so I'll be skipping most of what I intended to say, but I'm very glad that Mr. Gupta had started from Shankari Prasad, moving on to Shamsher, and then to Goloknath, Keshavananda, and then I.R. Coelho. I'll just refer to you one anecdote in course of hearing of the Keshavananda Bharati case. Mr. Palkhivala, aside from his prolific arguments in the Keshavananda Bharati case, perhaps ever so intentionally showed us that the robes that all of us don in courts might not necessarily be the ones we wear outside their thresholds. Mr. T.R. Andhayarjuna narrates an insightful anecdote in his book on Keshavananda Bharati case. The context here is that Mr. Palkhivala was appearing for the petitioner, and constitutional stalwart Mr. Siva was appearing for one of the respondent states. On the last day of his arguments, Mr. Palkhivala, in a bid to add an element of drama in the courtroom, did something that not many could have anticipated. He produced an article from the Times of India, dated almost 18 years prior to the Keshavananda hearing, authored by Mr. Sirvai, where he had penned a scathing critique of the constitutional Fourth Amendment, removing the right to property as a fundamental right. Here was Mr. Sirvai vehemently arguing before the 13-judge bench for limitless parliamentary power, whilst he had indeed criticized the same out of court almost 2 decades ago. As students who are yet to even don the robes of lawyers, you must understand that this profession brings along with it such unexpected twists and turns that you can almost never anticipate. In the spirit of the earlier discussion, we must remember that there are many legislators who champion the doctrine of parliamentary supremacy over the basic structure doctrine. It is but human that members of any institution would not accept with grace any curtailment of the power of the institution to which they belong. According to their way of thinking, they are right to demand a constitutional system which can be transmuted by Parliament in the manner they deem fit. The words of Frederick Douglass, I quote, "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and it never will," unquote, rings true in the present times. The lawmakers must realize that they cannot fundamentally alter the nature of our Constitution and its promise to the people of India. And even if certain judicial articulations of the Supreme Court, striking at the root of an ultra-virus legislative action, are unpalatable to the government of the day, I am afraid Articles 141 and 144 have to be followed. We have heard in the recent past of there being criticism about a particular decision of the Supreme Court which struck down a constitutional amendment enacted with an overwhelming majority, reasoning that the same abrogated the basic structure as the tyranny of the unelected, within quotes. Fortunately for the people of this great nation, the framers of the Constitution, while not making provisions for judges of the Supreme Court to be elected to their offices, enacted provisions for appointment of unelected judges and vested them with this great power of judicial review, a power though wide enough to be exercised within settled limits, to check any kind of tyranny or despotism tending to alter the material of which the Constitution is woven if necessary. You know, basic structure is a topic on which we can go on and on and on. Mr. Mukherjee is waiting in the wings to address. I would accordingly conclude, but before that, only a few words about Justice Khanna, the architect of the basic structure doctrine. In Justice Khanna's opinion, no generation has monopoly of wisdom, nor has any generation a right to place fetters on future generations to mold the machinery of government and the laws according to their requirements. The judges who sat in decision in Keshavananda might never have thought in their remotest imagination that there could exist technology like that of artificial intelligence, the internet, or smartphones even. None of us know what the future beholds, and what might seem as the rigid lines of our reality might pale into insignificance on another day. The judges, Mr. Palkhivala, and all other eminent jurists who witnessed the mammoth miracle of Keshavananda not only argued for their present, but stood there with their eyes set firmly on the days to come, as must we. The onus is on us, me and you, to do what it takes to take the spirit of Keshavananda forward, as the ink on the judgment might fade someday, but the words will remain steadfast in the history of jurisprudence the world over. Wishing all the students the very best for their future, I thank all of you for your patience and attention. Thank you.